Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Christopher Phillips. I'm a first year at the college. My question is for Mr. Stelter. You've all spoken extensively about Fox News being a purveyor of disinformation, but CNN is right up there with them. They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Salmon as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation. With mainstream corporate journalists becoming little more than apologists and cheerleaders for the regime, is it time to finally declare that the canon of journalistic ethics is dead or no longer operative? All the mistakes of the mainstream media, and CNN in particular, seem to magically all go in one direction. Are we expected to believe that this is all just some sort of random coincidence, or is there something else behind it?
It's too bad. It's time for lunch.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I mean,
Brian.
there's a clock that says 30 seconds. But I think my honest answer to you, and I'll come over and talk in more detail after this, is that I think you're describing a different channel than the one that I watch. But I understand that that is a popular right-wing narrative about CNN. I think it's important when we talk about shared reality and democracy, all these networks, all these news outlets have to defend democracy. And when they screw up, admit it. But when Benjamin Hall, the Fox correspondent, was wounded in Ukraine, the news crews at CNN and the New York Times stopped what they were doing, and they tried to help. They tried to help him get out of the country. They tried to find the dead crew members. That's what news outlets do. That's how they actually do work together, to your question about sharing those kinds of connections and trust. We don't talk about it enough, though. We don't share that reality about how that happens. And with regards to the regime, I think you mean the President Biden. The last time I spoke with a Biden aide, we yelled at each other. So that's the reality of the news business that people don't see, that people don't hear. They imagine that it's a situation that it simply is not. But I think your question, it speaks to the failure of journalism to show our work and show the reality of how our profession operates. We have a lot of work to do, I think.
And for accuracy purposes, that clip came from Nicholas Fondacaro, and apparently it's freshman Christopher Phillips calling out Brian Stelter and CNN. Here goes our live show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the show. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me for a live episode of Dream Rare Podcast. This will be uploaded to my Dream Rare Podcast as well. I wanted to start with that clip of a college freshman just obliterating Brian Stelter, asking him about all the misinformation that they've pushed. And his answer was pretty lame. I mean, he didn't really address any of it. He kind of just beat around the bush. And I think at one point he even said right-wing talking point. Like, you said this about Nick Salmon. You said this. You did the Russia collusion narrative. You did this. You did this. And instead of addressing it, he's just like, oh, that's like a right-wing talking point. And this is tying both of the things I want to talk about. I want to laugh about that clip. If you didn't see it, make sure you rewind this after the live stream and watch it. But also it comes to the Russia narrative. I'm going to give my update on the take and show some old clips. But this is what I'm writing my book about. I know I've been saying it's almost finished for a year, but I'm taking my time. These words: racist, sexist, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer. Now you have, are you an anti-Trumper? Are you a pro-Trumper? Are you a Russia bot? Is that Putin propaganda? Oh, that's a right-wing talking point. That's a left-wing talking point. What does that really mean, right? It's like he didn't address any of the narrative, and it's just this word to be like, oh, yeah, like it's almost like you're brainwashing your, audience to be like, oh, if you hear this information, don't think about it. It's a conspiracy theory. If you hear this information, don't think critically about it. It's a Trump conspiracy theory. If you hear this information, oh, that's, you can't possibly question Ukraine or Zelensky or war crimes that they may or may not be committing, because that's a Putin talking point. Putin says that there's an Azov battalion neo-Nazi affiliated group, that's a Putin. So all of these things kind of intertwine, and it's mostly a lot of left-wing people doing it, but there are right-wing people. I notice when I question certain narratives, they'll say, are you an anti-Trumper? Are you an anti-vax? This type of stuff. So in general, I think Brian Stelter just got embarrassed by a college freshman, and I don't think he really had any sort of answer for all of the misinformation that they have presented. And this is what the mainstream media is to me. I'm not one of these partisan hacks that just sits here and says, oh my God, the right wing's perfect, Republicans never lie. But if I follow every narrative, and this is what even got me to do this and become a news analyst, et cetera, I watched how dishonest the media was when it came to Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. They were totally dishonest. They had their minds made up. They were trying to mold public opinion. Then it gets to Trump, Hillary Clinton, and they're doing the same exact thing. They're lying about everything. And then Trump gets into office. It's a Russia collusion. It's a hack. It's a this. It's a that. You're this. You're a racist. You're a sexist. And I realize how they operate. And I'm like, I'm not saying this just to be edgy, like, oh, the media lies all the time. No, sometimes they tell the truth. But these mainstream narratives, like when, something huge happens, like Russia collusion, Russia, Ukraine, COVID-19, it's not to say that there isn't something true going on, but the media, it's almost as if they're always lying. Like I would say their accuracy rating on big narratives, on little stuff, they'll tell the truth. They'll write real articles. I'll share them sometimes. But on the big narratives, these big social engineering narratives where they want everybody to follow along, they're wrong about almost every single one, whether it be Jussie Smollett, Nick Sandmann, COVID-19, Donald Trump, Russia collusion. It's all overbaked to really push people in a certain agenda. So kudos to that young man for calling them out and being a citizen journalist. That's what we need more of. A lot of people, they say, well, I don't agree with this or that you say. That's cool. Do your part. You know what I'm saying? If you think that I'm not honest enough at something, you be more honest. If you don't think I'm covering something enough, you go cover it. But be fair and be accurate. Don't be a liar. That's how we change the world, folks, by, going to these conferences, asking questions and challenging people with, oh, you say Fox News is disinformation. Well, what about these 7 narratives that you posted? What did he say about it? Pretty much nothing. Pretty much like, oh, that's a right-wing talking point and we try our best. It's like, no, you don't, dude. You guys are such absolute liars. So congratulations to that guy. And I think that clip is a super viral, super interesting clip. Make sure you watch it. And if you want, share it. It's on Twitter as well.